Hey, 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 welcome back to Stop It. I'm your host, Emily Erb, and I'm super, super excited. I have a special guest on today. Her name is Michelle Purta, and she is a marriage coach and host of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. She helps couples transform their marriage from co parenting roommates to connected partners. Michelle also teaches couples how to navigate conflict so that it restores their friendship, strengthens their partnership, and deepens their connection. And I know many of you, my listeners, are going to get so much value and great feedback from Michelle. And I just can't wait to like hop in and see what she has to say with how can we reconnect with our partners and how can we move in working with our partners as teammates before when we first got married. So, Michelle, welcome. And if you want to share a little bit about you and about your story, and then we'll get into it.
Thank you so much for having me, Emily. Hi, I'm Michelle Purta. I'm a marriage coach, like she shared. I'm also a mom of three. So I know what it's like to go from dating to engaged to married to having kids. And it's like, whoa, what happened here, right? Like, how did we get here? What happened to us? And so much of how I became a marriage coach is because of my own experiences, right? So if we go all the way back 40 something years, my parents, they did not have a good foundation like most people, right? Like most people don't have this childhood where they get to be exposed to a healthy relationship, where they see how healthy partnership works, healthy communication, and a strong connection. In the past, people married for survival. They married for things that were good on paper. Oh, you can provide for me. Oh, you can take care of a home. Fantastic. Oh, you're tolerable. Cool. But now, in this age and generation, we're now marrying for connection. And we have this gap where we're like, well, what we want, we didn't see growing up, much like parenting, right? We were raised a certain way, but we want to raise our kids a different way. How do we do this if we don't have examples that taught us? And also, we did not learn this from school unless you were in college and you sought out like communication classes or psychology, or and even though people study psychology, they may not even still be the best at relationships, right? And so for me, what I observed in my parents' relationship was a lot of not dealing with things. But then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, someone would give the silent treatment or someone would be yelling. And it was like, where is this coming from? Right. And so I did not get to see in real time growing up how to deal with conflict in a healthy way. I also didn't see healthy partnership. My parents were very traditional in the sense that my mom did everything and my dad did nothing. But here's the kicker. My mom also worked full time, which is something that we all can relate to here, right? Like we are now in this stage of life where everything is so expensive and you almost need two working parents to feel like you're thriving in life. And so naturally, my mom became resentful, right? Started to dislike my
Hmm.
dad. And so I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I am not marrying a man who's going to expect me to do everything and do jack shit. Like, that's not going to be me. Thankfully, my mom got divorced and married someone that's a more suitable partner for her, someone that actually shows up for her and supports her in the home and outside the home. And unfortunately, still didn't get to see healthy communication. So when I got into my own relationships, I kept running into the same pattern, but I blamed it on the other person naturally,
Mm,
right? I
hmm.
would find myself in so many arguments, right? They would do something, I would get upset, and then I would go talk to them because that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to talk about it right away. Otherwise, you're going to let things blow up and things will get worse and the relationship will fall apart, or so I thought. And so it became this cycle. I get upset about something. I go and talk about it to them right away. I get passive aggressive. I feel misunderstood. I walk away with nothing resolved. They're just left there feeling like I just got talked at, not talked to or talked with. And that was like times however many relationships I had. And I'm like, what is going on here? none of these guys that I dated were similar by any means, by the way. And so after a number of relationships, I was like, oh shit, I'm the common denominator. That was a
Wow.
rough awakening. And so after that point, I was like, okay, well, that sucks. It's hard to look in the mirror and be like, oh, part of that was me. And so I went on this growth journey and started to learn more about myself, started to learn more about how healthy communication works. And at the time, I was best friends with someone with who is now my husband. And he already had a son. And so it was kind of like a quick, rapid course on partnership with a child. And through that relationship, I was able to truly practice what I was learning. And I saw such a difference in how we communicated. It was so much more mature, right? It was
Hmm.
so much more fulfilling in the way that now I see conflict as an opportunity to grow,
Mm.
right? It's not a nuisance. It's not like a sign of trouble in your relationship. Conflict is simply, hey, we're noticing something that we need to talk about so that we can come to an agreement on where we're both at, learn more about ourselves, how we actually feel about this, what we want, learn more about each other, about how we work together, what they want, how they feel. And then we get to decide as a partnership how we want to proceed forward. Now, I have this saying conflict is inevitable, but arguing is optional. And I want more and more people to know about this because people equate conflict with arguing. But actually, conflict is just disagreeing. You can talk through conflict. Arguing is when we start to get triggered and we have unresolved wounds come up and we don't know how to work through that or own that from our
Mm.
own selves and our past hurts. And it comes out as our coping mechanisms, the yelling, the name calling, the criticizing, the stonewalling, all of those things that are labeled as toxic behaviors. It's really just us trying to protect ourselves. But anyway, all that said, I know what it's like to have all this like lack in your background, to have the relationship and see it blow up in your face because you're like, but I love you. It shouldn't love be enough. I don't understand how we got to this place where we went from so giddy to maybe near hating each other. And then you add kids to the mix, that intensifies everything because you're tired and have no energy.
Absolutely. Oh, Michelle, I feel like you hit on every single thing that like are such pain points for women in their relationship. And like some of the big things that really stood out for me was the word resentment,
Hmm.
blaming, and then team. And
Yes.
so I part of why I realized that my husband and I were struggling is because I heard someone say about resentment. And it was like, it's not like a lack of like respect that's not there anymore. It's because there's just a build up of resentment over the years. And I kind of want to circle back to where your mom, she was doing all the things and she was working full time on
Hmm.
top of that. And I know for a lot of the women that I work with, I hear them say things, and I've also said them too before, like, I'm always doing everything.
Hmm.
And so, what do you say for women that are like, okay, I hear you, this, is making sense logically to me, but I'm still really struggling because I really do feel like I'm doing all the things. Like I can see it. There's evidence pointing to I'm doing all the things. And so when you're coming from that place, like how do you help women, especially in this relationship, work through that?
Yeah. So your resentment is real. Okay. Like I get it. I've definitely gotten to that place and still do at times. The difference is resentment just doesn't go away on its own, right? I feel like
Mm.
with a lot of my clients, at least, when they get resentful, they kind of just like hold it and it leaks into how they interact with their partner, right? That looks like huffing and puffing when they're frustrated. That looks like not wanting to connect. That looks like not being playful. That looks like being extra serious all of the time, carrying the load where you feel like you don't have the capacity to actually be yourself because you feel so heavy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And none of that goes away until something changes. And here's the mistake that a lot of women make because they feel resentful. They feel like, well, I would be happy to feel not resentful if you could finally do these things, right? But here's the thing with resentment, that really heavily colors how you communicate. And the way we approach our partners matters so much. Can you imagine your parents talking to you about something that's upsetting to them and they come in storming into your room and you're already bracing yourself like, okay, I'm ready. Go ahead. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? Versus if they came into you and was like, here, let's sit on the bed together. I want to have a chat with you. There's been some things that have been like I've been noticing some things and I really want to make sure that we're on the same page and da 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 da, right? Wouldn't you be more open to listening to that conversation rather than I do everything, you do nothing, no one appreciates me, I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
respected. That like just say all the things that you've heard women say and maybe you've even said yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like how would you respond to someone approaching
Mm-hmm.
you like that? No matter how angry they are, no matter how justified that language is, it's not productive
Yeah.
at all.
Well, and then so, okay, I can very much relate to this. Like, that is how I would approach Kevin, where I would, one of the things that used to drive me crazy is that, so I do a lot of the cleaning in our house.
Mm-hmm.
And I in his bathroom, he has a separate bathroom and he has this hairspray. And it's like the bathroom's smaller, so when he sprays the hairspray, it like falls onto the toilet seat and it like creates this like grime on it that makes it so much harder for me to clean the toilet. So every time I would clean his toilet, I'm scrubbing it so much harder. And I would tell him, I'm like, dude, can you just please like spray it somewhere else? Like, this is making it so much harder. So then I created a belief that Kevin doesn't respect my time and he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
respect me. So then I would go from cleaning the toilet, getting pissed off, and then I would find other areas in the house to show proof to my brain that this was actually true. And
Mm-hmm.
like I would see his socks, his dirty socks in the bedroom that didn't make it to the hamper. And then it would just keep spiraling to the point where I would just like I would be so pissed off. So when he would come home, I was already showing up in like a very negative energy towards him and he could feel it and see it. But I was not able, it was not safe for me to have the conversation that you're saying at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked through that, but for women who are at that place that it's like, okay, it would be great to be able to like sit down and come from a place of like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. You know, I'm not taking it personal, but like you really are taking it personal. Like
Mm-hmm.
how do you suggest like an easy step or something that they can start to get to a place that they do want to have that type of conversation?
Yeah. So, I'm going to keep this part short because I know there's so much more to talk about,
I
but there are
know.
two different kinds of communicators. There's the pursuer and there's the withdrawer. Okay. I am the pursuer. I get anxious when there's conflict. I want to resolve it right away, which has led to me jumping into conversations way sooner than I am ready for, which then created arguments, right? Things escalated so much faster. And I could have not did that if I gave myself time to process how I was feeling, what I was thinking, also force myself to kind of like combat what you were saying, which is your brain, when you have this belief of something, it's going to want to make you right. So it's going to look for evidence that you are right and ignore anything that refutes that belief that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like, my husband doesn't respect me, it's going to be like, got it. I am your secretary. Let me go through the filing cabinet and help you remember all these other times that he hasn't respected you, or so you perceived, so
Yep.
that you can go in with receipts. But it's not accurate. right?
Hmm.
And so we have to force ourselves to be like, okay, there's those thoughts. They came in 5 seconds. Got it. Now, what else can I consider? Where have there been times where he has respected me? And I'm sure you'll come up
Hmm.
with a whole slew of things if you
Hmm.
actually gave yourself the space and time to consider those things instead of just running off with what your brain gives you right away, right?
Hmm.
That's growth. The other type, the withdrawer, they retreat into safety because they need time to process their thoughts and think about how they feel and what they want before engaging. And of course, these two types of people marry each other.
I was just gonna ask that. That was gonna be my question. I'm like, is that so? Is that because I was just picturing it? I'm like, I'm definitely the person who goes after.
Mhm.
What was that called again?
Pursuer.
The pursuer. Like, I'm definitely the pursuer. Like, I want to just like kind of fix it. I want to talk about it. I'm like, let's
Yes.
talk about our feelings.
Yes.
And Kevin is like, he totally withdraws, and it would
Hmm.
drive me crazy.
Hmm.
So that's normal that like a
Yes.
pursuer and a withdrawer marry each other. That
Yes,
are
it's
like,
totally normal.
wow.
And different things create anxiety in them, right? So for us, it's that instability, uncertainty if we're okay or not. We have this sense of urgency to fix it so that we can feel better. But that's an
Yes.
us problem,
Yep.
not a them problem, right? And we project it onto them. And if they don't engage in the way that we think that they should, we then make that mean something about us, right? Oh, you don't care about the relationship. You don't love me enough. You are
Mhm.
okay with this. You don't care about how I feel. But really, they're just trying to protect themselves because they're like, I'm not ready to talk. I don't even know what's happening or what to make of this situation. They need time to have that all ready and then have the conversation.
Okay, I have a question because this is, I'm very interested about this. I did not know this. I did not know this. Okay, so so for someone who is the pursuer that wants to talk about it and then the
Hmm.
other person who doesn't, what is like a good compromise? Because like
Yeah.
what is an okay amount of time for you to wait, but then also like, hey, you got to meet me somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the problem that a lot of couples make is that they kind of like have this non-conversation about
Yeah.
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yep.
like, okay, well, you clearly don't want to talk about it, so I'm going to wait for you to approach me to talk about this. And really, this is a test, so you better pass it. And if you don't pass, then I'm going to be even more upset with you. But really, my anger is building with every second you don't talk to me.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, I've been there.
Okay?
Yeah.
The other person is like, oh, well, maybe they'll forget. Because I really don't want to talk about this. This is very uncomfortable. Maybe they haven't had experience with having their emotions validated or even having a space to talk about it, which most men did not grow up with, by the way. We know this, right? We know
Mhm.
that feelings are not something that they've been nurtured to express or even process. They've been very much been groomed to be like, go achieve something, go do something physical, go make a name for yourself. Don't, never mind how you feel, suck it up, just, grow a set and handle stuff. But this is where the issue is, right? They're like, I don't want to talk about it. And you're like, well, I'm sick of initiating the conversation, so I'm going to wait for you. And then the resentment builds some more. So here's the problem waiting. You're not to wait. But you're
Okay.
also not to jump into the conversation. So what do? You
Yeah.
have a conversation about it. Hey, I I don't know, give me an example of something that's happened.
With me and Kevin.
Yeah.
Oh man. I know. Well, gosh, I'm trying to think of an example that gosh, I can't think of it right
I know,
now. I'm
right? That was
like
my
put on
problem.
the
Here, I'll make
spot. I
something up. I'll
know.
make something
I
generic
know.
up.
I know. I know there's so many things because I
So
can think
let's
about this. Yeah.
say so let's say you've been talking to your husband about building some furniture. It's been sitting in the boxes for a while and you like just stare at it every single day and you're like, what the heck, right? I asked for
Oh,
this to be
cleaning the
done.
garage.
Okay,
Now that you
there.
just said that.
Cleaning garage.
Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Cleaning the garage. It drives me crazy. I've like told him so many different times
Yes.
and yes. Okay. Okay. Yep.
There
Got
you
it.
go. Okay.
Okay.
So cleaning the garage, it's frustrating. You've talked about it, whatever. So here's the thing. You're frustrated if ever you feel highly activated in your emotions. I want you to remember this. High emotions means low logic. Okay? Remember
Oh,
that.
okay.
High emotions means low logic. What do we need to have a productive, successful, healthy conversation?
Not
Logic.
letting, yeah, not letting our emotions drive.
hmm Emotions are handy because they teach
Mhm.
us about ourselves, what
Yep.
we like, what we don't like, what we need changed, where we need to grow. Very useful.
Hmm.
However, they should not be the ones driving
Yep.
you in a conversation. Okay. So you take what you feel and you're like, okay, feelings, what are you trying to tell me? What do you want me to know about myself? Great. Let me process that. And then you could be like, hey, I've been noticing that something's really bothering me lately. When would be a good time to talk about this?
Mm,
Okay? That. Not, hey, whenever you're ready, let's talk about this. Because if someone is a withdrawer, they're never gonna want to feel
no.
ready
Yeah.
because it's uncomfortable. Just like how it's uncomfortable for you to feel this anxiety of this like disconnect that's going
Hmm.
on. You just want to get back to what I call like equilibrium. You're like, okay, we're good now. Like we can joke around, we can flirt, we can do things and coexist in a nice, friendly, fun, whatever way. And anything that disrupts that, you're like, oh my gosh, like urgency. I need to fix this right away.
Because you feel
However,
unsafe.
yes, you feel unsafe. However, I like to teach my clients something called a consensual conversation.
Mm.
This is not a one-sided partnership where you're like, I have a problem. We got to talk about it. I don't care if you're ready, right? Or you have a problem. Well, I'm not ready to talk about it, so we're never talking about it. No. If this is a partnership where the two of you deeply care about each other, then that means meeting each other in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So that means, okay, well, I have this issue that I want to talk about and resolve together. When would be a good time for us to talk about this? This puts it like on a timeline, not just, well, I'm going to wait for you to bring it up and show me how much you care. So the longer you wait, the less you care about me, obviously, right?
Right. Yep.
And then that way, the withdrawer can actually commit to something. It's their choice, right? It's them saying that they'll be ready to talk about it at this point, and they get to consider, okay, what do I need in terms of time to process what's happening, how I feel, what I want, what I think, but also I have knowledge about, okay, what does she want to talk about? So at that point, both of you can go into the conversation ready. You will hopefully have processed your own shit and can come into the conversation more grounded, more calm, more logic so that
Yeah.
you have the capacity to hear what they have to say without like what we often do is when they say something, we're like, oh, I'm going to fire back with this. So you're not really taking in what they're saying. You're just listening to have something to come back with, right? But now you're like, I have my shit figured out, so I don't have to think about what this means about how I feel. Well, now I'm just like, okay, well, this is how I feel. This is what I want. Oh, this is how you feel, and this is what you want. Okay, well, let's take a look at this as a problem that we are trying to solve together. Like putting
Mm.
together a puzzle, right? You're not like trying to steal the piece from each other. You're not trying to sabotage and hide some pieces away. You're literally like, oh, this piece, where does this go? Okay, there.
Yeah. Wow, that is so good. That was so good because I know I'm not the only one that has struggled with that, especially like when we are like, we want them to do something, they're not doing it, then we take it personal and yeah. And I never really recognized how I would like play that mental game inside of my head, right? Of like,
Ooh,
well, yes,
I want to add something.
yeah.
So, on top of that, it's also important to share the impact of your request. Because for them, we each have our own individual priorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like this is clearly illustrated when you have a party and you're like, okay, let me figure out what needs to go where. what kind of foods to serve and like make sure the inside of the house is clean and tidy and ready for the flow of gatherers to come. And then they're like outside mowing the lawn. And you're like,
Yep.
what? Or like in the garage fixing the car. And you're like, huh? There's a reason behind that. Men have been taught to take pride on the outside of the home, like the garage, like the front yard, like the outer
That where people
appearance
can
of
see.
things. Yes. We have been taught to prioritize people's experiences, their feelings, right?
Mm.
Their comfort. And so with the garage, the question that you need to ask yourself is why is him cleaning that up so important to me? What does that do for me? What does that do for our family? And I would communicate that so that he has all the information he needs to prioritize it in his life.
So it makes sense in his brain
Yes.
because, okay,
Because
because I,
otherwise, it's just another task that you're adding to the honey to-do list.
yeah. Wow. And
And
then, and if he thinks, like, I know that we've definitely got to a place at one point where so we actually, is a really good cook and he is really good at it. He enjoys it. And so we kind of got into a thing where he makes me breakfast in the mornings. And I felt like when we were not in a good place, like the resentment was building. I could see it on his face that like he really wasn't enjoying making me breakfast. Like I think he was resenting making me
mhm.
breakfast. And I don't even know why the point I was making that. Now I just lost my train of thought. But what I wanted to say is that I like how you said explain to him why this is important to me. And when I see the garage, and this is where like we have like the kids stuff, so when they want to play outside and when it's not organized, when stuff is thrown all together, I then don't feel I feel like anxiety. I notice
Mhm.
anxiety. I don't feel safe. I like to have things organized. That feels good for me. So then we
Mhm.
know like where stuff is. And when I go into a chaotic place, I don't like that. That does not work for
Mhm.
me. And so that's such a great point of explaining why this is important to me.
Ooh, let's take
And
it another
okay.
level deeper, okay?
Okay.
How does that manifest in how you show up to him as his wife when you feel anxious?
Mm. I withdrawn,
Mm-hmm.
like definitely withdrawn when I
Mm-hmm.
show up anxious. Hmm.
So I would own that and say, hey, I'm sure you've been noticing that I've been a little bit withdrawn from you lately, and I think I figured out why. When I get anxious, I do that because I fill in the blank. And I notice that these things create or trigger my anxiety. And I want to be able to work together to figure this out because I want to be able to like desire to connect with you. I want to be able to get back to that person that flirts with you. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Wow.
He may not be putting all those things together and he's like, what the fuck happened to my wife?
Yeah.
Where did
Wow.
she go?
And I think too, like, just how women, we have like this heavy burden of so much
Hmm.
responsibility. And that's something that
Yes.
I've been working through and on because that was passed down to me as a
Yep.
child,
Yep.
and behavior that was modeled for me. And there's definitely times where I can still find those old patterns coming up, those old thought patterns of like when I feel like I'm doing it all. Like,
Mhm.
we have a puppy and I really didn't want the dog, but my kids did, and so did my husband. And so we did have a conversation, and I'm like, this is not all going to fall on me. And he's done such a great job. I am finding that sometimes I do get a little bit of resentment because I work from home and he goes to the office. So like it's it's a lot sometimes for me where I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to work, but then I also have a puppy that I need to take care of, and he doesn't have to do that. And so I
Hmm.
am finding myself like going back into those little old patterns of the resentment.
Yes. So I would definitely talk about that, not in a like, look what you did type of
Hmm.
way, but just like, I noticed some resentful feelings coming up for me because, yes, it's nice that I have a flexible schedule because I work from home, And I'm noticing these things are falling on my plate, and I didn't sign up for this. So,
Hmm.
like, can we work together to figure out whether other things get taken off your plate when he is home, or he can do some of the other things from work during his lunch hour? Like, this all plays into, I don't know if you've heard of this, like, but fair play, right? It's all
Mm-mm.
about, oh, you haven't. Okay.
No, I
So,
haven't heard
fair
of fair play.
play is a book, it's also a set of cards, and it has to do with letting everyone know, like you and your husband, you could even include your kids if you want, about what it takes to run the home and raise the kids. The mental load, the physical load, the emotional load, all of that stuff. And that way it's laid out like you can see all the things that need to get done. Things that we naturally do, like making
Mm-hmm.
sure our kids have the right size clothes, donating the clothes that are too small, making sure that they're getting summer camp signed up for,
Yep.
all these things that we do and carry in our heads that magically happen like Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't notice, but they benefit from. So the more we can make these things that we do transparent, and this could mean weekly check-ins, this could mean having a full-on conversation about, hey, I've been noticing I've been really burnt out because these are all the things that I've been doing, and like not leaving anything out, but also letting him share all the things that he does that you may not even be aware that he's
Mm-hmm.
doing. Like, oh, I make sure your air pressure is good on your tires, and I make sure we maintain the cars on time, and da 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 da. It's just that the things that guys handle tend to be less of the daily grind stuff and more of like the less often, but still very important things to handle
Yeah.
in life. This gives both partners better insight into how everyone is contributing to the family life, but
Mm.
it also is a great opportunity to kind of like even out playing field. Not necessarily like 50-50, because my belief is marriage is like 100-100, right? But rather like, what's
Yes.
your capacity? What can you take on? This is my capacity. This is what I can take on. What about the rest of the stuff? Do we hire out? Do we lower our standards? What are we going to do to handle this? And letting it be a partnership decision rather than just like, oh, well, okay, it's going to be in the ether, which will always fall on us because we care.
I know, right? Because we cannot not care. That's the thing. Like, it just is not in us not to care. And I love that you said about the team because we grew up hearing that marriage is 50-50, and it's not. And I heard on a reel a few years back, and it might have been even Mel Robbins who talked about marriage. And we started doing that where there's
Oh, the
times,
numbers.
yes, where
Hmm.
like the percentage where like Kevin will come home, and if I'm like at a 20%, like I'd be like, I just want to let you know I'm at a 20%.
Hmm.
And there's times that he's like, all right, Emily, I got you. I'm at 80. Like I can
Yep.
do it. And then there's times where he'll come home and he's like, Emily, I'm at a 20%. And I'm like, I got you, And then there was times that we're both at
Yep.
20%.
Yep.
And that is where we had to really give ourselves compassion and grace
Yes.
and let things go. And one of the things that I recognized a couple years back is that I was always competing with who had it worse, especially when our kids were younger.
Very common.
Yes, where like, and I remember specifically Kevin telling me, he's like, Emily, this is not a competition. But I was making it one because I felt guilty that if he was like struggling and he couldn't do the things that he wanted to, whatever that was, it was like then I made it that I wasn't allowed to also be struggling. Like it was an
Hmm.
either or thing.
Hmm.
And that has been something that I had to work on. So like what are like where clearly you see that happen a lot where we
Yeah.
make it like a competition. Like
Yes.
what are your thoughts about that and how can people work through that?
Yeah. Yeah. So that happens because you're not owning that you're struggling. You
Mm.
are seeking external validation for your struggle. And so many people have trouble, especially women, owning that they feel a certain way, that they're not quote unquote strong enough to do things that they're supposed to do because we've not been shown that compassion and grace and self love, sadly.
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Mhm.
So much of that is just owning, like, I'm struggling and that's okay. This is part of the human experience. So in this struggle, what do I need to feel supported? What do I need to change? Like, what decisions do I need to make? What boundaries do I need to put in place with myself, with other people, so that I can change this? So, you know how I said emotions are important, right? They teach
Mhm.
us things.
Mhm.
Well, here's one of those times. If you're struggling and you're feeling frustrated all the time or stressed out, something's got to change, right? You can't just like go into the same room every time expecting to see something, experience something different. You've got to choose to toss some things or add some things. A lot of couples, I find that there's jealousy actually, because men
Mm.
have no problem doing things to take care of themselves, like going to the gym, like hanging out with their friends, and wives often get really upset. But it's really anger masking jealousy because they're like, well, that must be nice for you to do that. When do I get to do that? I don't have the time to do that.
Mm.
And they make it
Mhm.
seem like they have so much to do and their husband has so little to do that they get to do that. But that's not the case. It's a lack of having clear communication about, hey, this partnership as it stands today is not working for me, right?
Mm.
And it's also not benefiting the husband either because then she gets resentful, she doesn't want to connect, and then he's miserable in his marriage, so on and so forth. It has a trickle effect, right? So
Mhm.
it's about not talking about it, not owning that you're feeling resentful, but also not giving yourself permission to take care of yourself. That was really hard for me. And I actually experienced what I think wasn't fully diagnosed, but I think I had postpartum depression after my daughter. And only once I started fully giving myself permission to be like, oh, these are the things that I need to do to feel my best. Because I felt like rest had to be earned, not
Mhm.
that rest was productive. Like, rest is
Yes.
productive.
Yes.
So now
Yes.
I'm like, okay, in order for me to be my best, to be my best for my clients, for my family, for my marriage, for myself, I need to exercise regularly. So
Mhm.
now, when the weather suits me, I go walking a few miles each time. I also play tennis. I also joined an adult hip hop class. And so, like, all of
Love
these
that.
things are like essential for me to feel like I am myself. Also, like, once or twice a week, I'll go hang out with my girlfriends after the kids are in bed because I need all this stuff to feel my best and help me have the resilience to carry through the difficulties and challenges of being a parent
Mhm.
while like in this modern way of how we do life.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of women don't give themselves permission to be like, "Oh, I do need stuff," because they don't want to feel needy.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Well, because that was never really with our generation, that was never modeled for us.
No,
That
no.
behavior wasn't, and we saw it as it wasn't okay to take
Hmm.
time for yourself. Like my mom never really did. Like
Yeah,
she barely, I don't think she ever really hung out with friends. And
yeah.
like it just was not modeled for us. And that is hard. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because when you said rest is being productive. And I do feel like women have been conditioned by society and also just the way we were brought up is that we always had to be doing something. Like my mom still to this day, like always feels like she has to be doing something. Like
Yep.
she would literally cringe knowing that like I take a break during the day and I'll watch like Schitt's Creek and I'll like just watch TV during the day for like a short time just to like it helps me recharge. It helps me just to like relax and I am actually way more productive
Yes.
and way more effective when I take those chunks of time
And
throughout the
more
day.
present for your
Yes,
family.
absolutely. And, like going, like exercise, that plays a huge role
Hmm.
for me too, where I'm out walking throughout the day. And before my kids come home, like I go for a walk where, yeah, dinner's not ready yet, like the house might not be clean or whatever. And I just like, I recognize that myself, where when I fill up my cup,
Yes.
I show up so much better for my kids.
Yes.
It's
My house may not be the tidiest And that was the thing that was prioritized in previous generations
Yep.
is like the aesthetics, the
Yep.
appearance of your home.
Mhm.
But I am so loving the shift for our generation and beyond
Mhm.
that we care more about what's going on inside rather than outside.
Yeah.
And that is so much more fulfilling for everyone, period.
hmm Absolutely. Because, like, I don't know about you as a mom, but I used to like really tie my self-worth around the things that I got done, especially when it came to the house.
Mhm.
Because when Kevin and I had kids, I knew for me personally, like I wanted to be home part-time. Like I did not
Yeah.
want to work full-time. And so I knew that part of being home part-time with the kids, some of the other roles were going to fall on me because I'm at home. And that does make sense, right? Um, and so I recognize that like I needed to learn how do I give myself permission to take breaks and to still see myself that I matter still, even when I'm a mom. And I recognize that like I felt so exhausted at the end of the night because I could have all the things checked off my list, but I still didn't feel that I did enough or that I was good enough because I was tying my self worth to the
Mhm.
things that I was doing and not doing. And once I started recognizing that, I worked with a fantastic mentor. And I remember him telling me, like, about the laundry because I was tying my self worth around the freaking laundry, whether the laundry was done or not. And like, if I had my laundry done, I felt good. That meant I did a good job, but I still didn't feel enough. And I think that's
Mhm.
so important for women to understand that is like part of making your marriage work better and communicate better and connect better. You also have to take care of yourself as well so that you can show up better for your partner.
Absolutely. When I work with my clients, I use this like hierarchy. Traditionally, we think like, oh, it's our kids first, our spouse next, and us last, if any, like if we're
Mm-hmm.
even there in the pyramid. But I actually have it inverted. It should be us first, our marriage, so long as you're not in an abusive marriage,
Right.
and then our children. Why? Because we are the foundation of our whole, like, I'll say this. I feel like us as women, we are the heart of the family.
Mm-hmm.
When we are not doing well, neither is anyone else
Yep.
because we just radiate and amplify however we feel into everybody else. So if we can feed into ourselves the things that we need and nurture ourselves with the self-care, with good food, with movement, with making sure that we are making decisions that are aligned with our values and all the things that go into living a fulfilled life, we will have a positive impact on those around us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if we're feeling good, we are more likely to be the wife that our marriage deserves.
Yeah.
We are more likely to be flirty, more silly, more cooperative, more understanding, compassionate, loving, kind, all of the things that you aspire to be like on a regular basis. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we feel like we don't have access to that, right? And then our marriage will be happier because, of course, who wouldn't want that from a partner, right? And that will influence how your partner treats you because good begets more good, right? Like, and then it just
Mm-hmm.
becomes this partnership that you really love. And your kids get to be witness to that. That gets to be their example. And you get to parent together in a way where you are feeling fulfilled. Like, imagine yourself on the best day of your marriage. You are just like skip hopping everywhere. You're so much more lenient and loving and kind with your kids and present, able to play, maybe like let things go. Oh, here, have a piece of candy, or let's go out for ice cream. You're so much more fun,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you have relationship issues, you're like, don't bother me.
Yeah.
Mom needs a break. Stop talking to me. Like, don't you see I'm doing something? You are unavailable for
Yeah.
connection. So it all starts with us.
Yeah. And I find that myself included, but a lot of the women that I work with too, they'll put the kids first. And I used to
Hmm.
put my kids first too, because that's what I was told. Like that was
Sure. Yeah.
what I was told to do. You put your kids first. But then I also would find that like my husband was like dead last. So like
Hmm.
I actually I was pretty good at prioritizing at least my health of like my exercise because I learned early on. So that was something that kind of was built in for me or I learned early so I could do that. But I found that I totally put Kevin dead last. And so what do you say for women that are finding that they are putting their husband dead last and like how can we move him up the list for a lack of a better word and get it to where we are prioritizing our marriage because it is hard to do that especially because that's your comfort zone, that is what you know. Yeah, so what's your advice
Yeah.
for that?
So, um, first, you have to ask yourself why you think you're doing that. It's
Mm,
normally because of resentment, burnout, all the things that we talked about earlier. So,
yep,
address
that makes
that.
sense.
Okay. Because if you're not motivated, it's not going to happen. It's going to keep doing that, right? You're just going to keep not considering him because there are other more urgent things. But when we want something and it's desirable, we will move mountains to make it happen, right? And so first we have to figure out, why are we not motivated to connect with our partners? Why are we not motivated to go on dates? Why are we not motivated to do kind things just because things anymore? What changed and what do I need changed? Okay. This has to do with you upholding boundaries, having hard conversations. This has to do with also having that tough conversation with yourself of, well, am I being the wife that my marriage needs?
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
a really
that's
tough one. Would I want to be married to myself right now? A lot of
right.
women will struggle with that and say, well, of course I would. I do all these things. Da, 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 da,
Mm-hmm.
da. But these things don't connect you. If you take a look at all the things that you quote unquote do for your husband or for your family,
Mm-hmm.
what of those things actually move the needle in terms of connection? Probably very few, if any, right? You're like, well, I
Yeah.
do dishes and I do laundry and da 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 da. Those are all great, but how does it nurture your marriage? Or how does it nurture your relationship with your kids? It doesn't. And I know that stuff still needs to get done.
Right.
And one of the misconceptions is, well, how do I prioritize my marriage if we're so busy? We've got all these kids' activities. I've got work. He has work. The house needs to be taken care of. Where does this happen? And people mistaken prioritization with time. Prioritizing your marriage doesn't mean spend more time with your husband than you do with your kids or with work or with whatever it is that's filling up your time. Prioritizing means keeping that in mind when you make your decisions. So,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I often do is I ask my clients, okay, well, if you were to look at your calendar and consider what are the things that can't be changed, like the fixed things, right?
Right.
Those are things
Yep.
that we can't change, which is very little, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you, like, how often would you want to connect with your partner to feel like you guys are a team, like you guys are connected, like you guys are friends, like you guys are lovers,
Mm-hmm.
and make decisions based on supporting that?
Mm.
Oftentimes we're like, oh, well, I have to take my kid to soccer and I have to do this and I have PTA and da 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 da. I don't have time to squeeze in my marriage. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where people go wrong. They're trying to fit in their marriage rather than, this is what's
Build
important
around
to
it.
me. And this is something that's non-negotiable. Now let's see what we can do to make sure that that's still in place. So we might say no to more things.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I do want to mention is the importance of honoring the culture of your family, right? That means not overcommitting to things that you know are going to mean the downfall of your family, like dysregulated kids, dysregulated
Mm-hmm.
mom, dysregulated husband. We all need to do less,
Yep.
so much less.
But that is definitely not what is portrayed
No,
in society.
no.
That's not the norm. It's
That's where
more,
it comes back
yes.
like we need to care more
Mm,
about the inside
yes.
than the outside.
Yes. Absolutely. How, so that was all so good. I wrote down a question. what would you do to nurture your connection? And that's where you're saying, like, asking, how can we, what does that look like? And I'm going to probably say that some of the women, or probably men, or both, that probably feels like an uncomfortable question to ask because they
Mhm.
probably never asked themselves that question.
Yep.
And coming from a female perspective, of like, oh, well, I want to do this right. Like, I want to get this right. And then putting the pressure on, okay, like I should know this, like I should know this answer. Um, how do you coach them through that of like saying like, hey, you can test things out, or like
Hmm.
what's your, is
That's
that your
exactly it.
advice? Yeah, just to test
I
it out.
mean, with life is an experiment,
Yeah.
right? We
Yes.
we don't ever fully have it figured out, okay?
Yeah.
Like I've been parenting for 14 years now, and I will say there's moments where I'm like, okay, we're doing so good, and then something will happen that knocks me off my ass and like reminds me I don't know shit about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's just life, right? We kind of got to like roll with it and grow from it. And so with your marriage, you just have to test. And if you're really drawing a blank, then you could be like, okay, well, what did we enjoy before? Like,
That's a, yep.
what are our fondest memories together? Let's think about what those elements of those activities are and see if anything fits that, right? So for my husband and I, we love to do things that are like novel and fun. Like we're both silly people, so we'll go to comedy shows. Like our past two dates have been comedy shows. Or we'll like to do novel things like axe throwing or going to an escape room. So like you gotta kind of figure out like what kind of couple are you? What do you enjoy doing? It could mean buying a puzzle and going to a coffee shop and like building it together. It doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. What matters is does it fulfill the intention that you have, as in connection,
Connecting. Yep.
right? So like it is truly just about making those opportunities be possible for you to do that. And even if you're like, but I don't have childcare, I don't really have reliable childcare either. Okay. So that's where you take advantage of these micro moments on like in your day-to-day life. Are you showing that you care about each other? Are you like checking in with each other? Like actually, not like, oh, how was your day? Oh, it was good. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
No, moving
Mm-hmm.
on. But rather like genuinely asking, doing things in kind nature, like you would for your best friend. If you see them down, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna come over with chicken noodle soup or buy some chocolates or Instacart something to you just to be like, I thought of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for my husband and I, like he's actually away on a business trip right now, but we're still talking. Like I'm sharing what's going on with the kids. I'm sharing funny reels that I'm finding. He's sharing silly Reddit things that he's finding. And we're just in constant communication. So you have to find what your groove is. And if you don't know what it is, try something, see how it fits. If it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work, figure out what about it you don't like and make tweaks to it, right?
Yep.
This is all about learning what it means to feel connected for the two of you. I cannot answer that with like
Mm-hmm.
this like cookie cutter answer because every couple is different, but how fulfilling it is, I can tell you when you do figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's amazing.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And that has been a lot of trial and error for me and Kevin as well, like reconnecting when we decided it was last year, January, when I decided we had like kind of a breakthrough moment. And I give Kevin so many kudos because I was trying to communicate with him differently and it was very uncomfortable for me. And it kind of came out as like, okay, Kevin, we were talking about sex. And I was just like, okay, well, I really don't feel like having sex like every day, but like I'm willing to do it like once or twice a week. And the way I communicated did not land in a way that Kevin was receiving it well because like I was scared, you know?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
was scared and I was willing to just like put it out there and I he was so amazing where he came up then and he was like, "Emily, do you just want to be roommates because that's kind of what I'm getting from that conversation that we just had." And I was like, No, I don't. And so from that point on, I was like, okay, this is a goal of mine is that I really want to break this generational cycle that I came from with my family. And I really want to show my kids. It was really coming from a place of not even just for me, but also my kids. I want my kids to see a really beautiful relationship. And I want my kids to see, like, I want to model that for my kids. And that was really like a big motivation factor for me. And I found that in when I decided that I wanted to do it, because you talked about how like when you want to make create change, you have to have that like deep why, right? To be able to do these uncomfortable conversations. Well, one of the things that I was recognizing, and this is, I think, would be a good ending point as well, is like I started to feel like, well, I need him to change too, right? Like I need him to change. There's so many things that I want him to change. And I kind of realized that actually, like, it fell on me to change first
Mm.
because so that he could then follow me in a way. And that was part of me taking responsibility in my life, right? And so, what are your thoughts to that? Where when women are finding, like, hey, he needs to change first, so that I can, blank.
I love this. Yes, this is super common. I've definitely been there too, where I did not look in the mirror and think, well, how did I also get us here? Because your marriage is something that is co-created. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just your husband's mishaps or misunderstandings that landed you here. You also changed that created like where you're at right now. And so if you're in this space where you're like, no, he needs to do this, and then I will do that, I will ask you this. Totally understandable for you to be in this position. And how important is your marriage to you? Because if you would rather be right, then you're not going to have the marriage that you want. Because in order for you to have a healthy partnership, the ego needs to be checked at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because if you're saying, as most people do, that your marriage is your priority, it doesn't matter who goes first. It matters that you guys cross the finish line together. Not who initiates first, not who does the most important thing. It's taking that step and saying, I love us so much, and our marriage is so important to me that I'm going to do what I have to do to get this going. And
Mm-hmm.
that means being courageous. So if
Mm-hmm.
you wait, you might be waiting for a while. You have no idea how long he'll feel like he needs in order to take that first step. He might not even be aware of the gravity of how this is impacting you and the relationship based on his experiences growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to think, well, if I can only control myself, what I do, then, and I'm saying that this marriage is a priority, and you choose to wait, your actions and your priorities are not aligned
Mm-hmm.
because you're not actually doing the thing. So, if that's the case, you need to work through your resentment so that you can be willing to move first if they haven't already.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, what is most um, like a relief to a lot of people is that once your partner notices that you're approaching things differently, their wall comes down as soon
Mm-hmm.
as they feel like they can trust that it's staying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're going to be walking this path alone for the foreseeable future. It's just that you're saying, hey, take my hand. I'll lead us at first
Mm-hmm.
until we have this renewed sense of trust in each other, in our love and commitment towards our relationship. And they'll be right back next to you, maybe even
Mich-
leading.
Michelle, that is, I think this is why I brought up about my husband making breakfast for me. And I was feeling that resentment and I could just see it and feel it. And since I took that step of leading and not waiting for him to change, and I worked on the resentment because I recognized that was the first place I really needed to start and to change and disrupt that pattern and that belief that I had. And I started looking at like all the ways that like I was like, is that really true? Does Kevin really not respect me, respect my time? And I'm like, that's not true. That's actually not true at all. And so, because I started to take that lead and change and show up with him in a different way, I see such a difference. And he started meeting me where I was at too. Like
Hmm.
and then I didn't feel like I was doing it by myself or alone. And so, for anyone that feels that, like, yes, it is hairy scary to take that first step. And we've all been there where we feel like they need to change first, but when you actually can look in the mirror and you can see how you're showing up for that person, and a lot of times it's the resentment, build up resentment along the way, you work through that, it like your husband feels it and he will show up differently then for you as well. And I felt that in our marriage. And I'm so glad that I took that big, hairy, scary step. And there was definitely a lot of hard parts, and there still are. Like,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that you just check this off the box. I think that that's important to know that it's like it's an ongoing thing, and it doesn't mean that it's always going to be super hard, or there's going to be like peaks and valleys and ups and downs. And but I think really when you're coming from a place of like partnership, like you're a team. And I say that actually to our family a lot, like to the kids too. I'm like, hey, we're all in the same team here, because I feel like sometimes like we didn't feel like on the same team. We were, blaming and trying to prove who was right and who was wrong. But yeah, so to your point, that really, me taking that change and owning how I was showing up completely changed everything in our relationship.
I love that for you.
Yeah, yeah. So, Michelle, I just want to say thank you so much. I feel like I have learned so much from you, and I like took down some really great points, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna remember this. Like, this is so great. um and so I'm sure my listeners are gonna get a lot of value from this, and if they have questions or curious to work with you, like, where can they find you? And yeah, let us know.
Yeah, the easiest place for you to actually learn more is to go to my podcast, Marriage and Motherhood. It's a great time. I share things about how to nurture and build up your relationship back to something even better than before kids. I also have amazing guests, which Emily will be a guest on my show as well.
Yay.
I love to feature people who help you with mom life or just life as a woman in general. And so hop on over there, check out the episodes. Hope you enjoy the show. You can also connect with me on Instagram. You can find me at Michelle Purta Coaching. And I'd love to connect with you. Let me know where you found me from, like this show. And I would love to support you if you are feeling like you're in that phase of your marriage where resentment is running deep and it's deeply impacting how you want to show up as a wife, but you know that you just need that extra support to get you through some challenges and get you back to being friends and lovers and all the things that are good in life.
Oh my gosh, Michelle, and you just made another great point too. I know that we're ending, but like when you said that you could actually help them even have a deeper and a better
Mhm.
relationship before they were even married, like, I totally agree with that. I know that it's possible because I feel the same way with my marriage with Kevin. I feel like I'm way more connected to him than I ever was when we were dating. So it's definitely possible. And Michelle, you are a fantastic coach, and the things that you bring up, I think it's so important because you're helping women create awareness around things and how they're showing up in their life, and how to just truly step into the person they want to be for their relationship. And that's awesome. So thank you so much. And I will make sure I put all of her information in the show notes so it's easy to find her on social media, and then also her podcast, which I'm excited to be on as well. So thank you so much. And I hope everyone has a fantastic week. And remember, life is always happening for you. And I can't wait to see you guys in next week's episode. Bye.